Now you're going to get Scott's grades, Grayson's grades. He was there last night with John at Lincoln Financial Field. You can always check out Grayson's grades at 973ESPN.com. He handed out 10 A's and one big, fat, juicy F last night. And at one point I tweeted to Scott that I hope that Jordan Matthews is getting an F. And someone said, you forgot a minus in there. I don't know that he was the guy that got the F, but I'm a little disappointed by this, Scott. No F for Jordan Matthews last night.
No, because, I mean, look, he still finished with 6 catches for 59 yards. He got, in some places, I think he got led into some very solid contact. The fumble he can shit on. Doesn't mean that he can fumble it, but, I mean, look, he was targeted 11 times. He caught 6 passes. I don't really know that those 5 are on him. I mean, the fumble certainly is not good. He got a D, but I mean, Bradford's missing everybody here.
All right, let's go.
Equal opportunity misser.
Let's go to the F, and you gave Sam Bradford an F last night, and obviously he did not play well. But I would say, do you think this was the worst of his 6 games here?
To me, I think it was. I mean, I've seen too many. I mean, he missed receivers, and he didn't miss them by a little bit. He missed them by a lot in many instances. The miscommunication problems is becoming extremely troubling. They're 6 games in. They had all, summer and training camp, and I mean, at this point, these kind of things shouldn't be happening at the rate they are. And quite frankly, I mean, sure, you can put some of it on his receivers. Maybe it's partly their fault, and Riley Cooper, took some of the blame on the one that he broke off. Whether or not it's him or not, he's not going to throw his quarterback under the bus there. But I think in some regard it is Bradford, and it's got to be better. The interceptions are just killing this team. I mean, that game really should have been – the Eagles should have delivered the knockout punch right before halftime or shortly thereafter. I mean, it should have been a lot better, and that game should have been over a lot earlier than it really was. And I credit him with being the reason why it wasn't. He just needs to get those passes. They need to be better. Ertz was open in the end zone if you let him deep. He underthrew it. I mean, clearly Bradford has a long way to go.
Yeah, and Scott, to me, the most disappointing part of Bradford's game was the fact that, for the most part, he had a clean pocket. He's throwing from a clean pocket, and he's overthrowing guys, underthrowing guys. Where is this accuracy that we were sold on in the offseason?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's one of the biggest problems is that the accuracy is, as I was saying, he's missing these guys. You're right. He did. I mean, you got to give the offensive line credit, except for the Jason Kelsey's sort of blunders with some of the penalties and the bad snap. Other than that, I mean, yeah, Bradford had plenty of time to throw the ball and had a clean pocket, as you said. He's still, I don't think he's stepping into his throws. I don't think he totally trusts that knee. And until he does, this accuracy is going to be hit and miss, from here until that point where he does trust that knee.
Scott, would you consider making a switch to Sanchez? You've seen, you were there last year. You watched Sanchez play. You've been in every game this year. Would you consider making a change?
No, I wouldn't, because once you make that change, I don't think you can go back. And I don't think Mark Sanchez is a guy who can, you'd be asking him to start for 10 games. And we saw roughly what happens when Mark Sanchez starts week to week for about that same time period. You're not going to get to the playoffs with that. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get there with Sam playing the way he is right now, but I just can't expect that Sam's going to continue to be this ugly as he gets another game and another game and another game under his belt. I have to believe that at some point here it's going to click, and he's going to turn a corner. I think we know what Sanchez is, and at this point I would not go there.
Talking Grayson's grades with Scott Grayson, and let's get off the negative stuff because there was some positive stuff. This is a big division win, a 20-point win. You're in first place, and to me it all stems from the defensive side of the ball. Who were you most impressed with on that unit?
I was most impressed, I think, with I was impressed with a lot of things, as you can tell by my grades. The defensive line, to me, just kept getting after. And, I mean, you look at the battles in the trenches, they won almost every down. I mean, they were constantly pushing that offensive line back. Eli eventually couldn't keep his eyes downfield because he constantly had to wonder where that pressure was coming from. Here's a guy who was getting rid of the ball on average 2.2 seconds coming into that game, and he held it a lot longer than that, which was what allowed the defensive line to get in there. Now, I don't think they get there. It's a little twofold. I don't think they get there if the coverage isn't as good as it was. And, you know, Nolan Carroll to me has just been extremely good in the lockdown situations. I mean, he's in man-to-man situations a lot, and he's locking these guys down for the most part. I mean, I just don't understand how this guy didn't get on the field last year. And I find it hard to believe that he improved this much in the offseason to where he couldn't pass Bradley Fletcher. But, I mean, that's what I was most impressed with, that it was, in my opinion, a true team defensive victory, the way that they all played on that side of the ball.
Yeah, you gave a lot of A's to a lot of defensive players. Hicks, Carroll, Ryans, Graham, Cox, Curry, and Jenkins, plus Billy Davis. So 8 guys on the defensive side all got an A. 2 guys on offense, the running backs, Murray and Matthews. You liked both of their games. John and I were just talking before you got on about whether we think this offensive running game is becoming more consistent and can you count on it more. What did you see from the backs that you liked?
Well, I'm becoming more and more convinced that Murray just is going to need to have, 20 touches just to be able to produce, because it takes a few for him to kind of get in the flow of the game. Now, Matthews is different. Seems like he can take that first carry and he can hit that hole quicker. His first step is a lot more explosive than Murray's from the moment he gets the ball. So the way that it's working right now, where Murray last night, for example, got 22 carries and Matthews got 9, I think that's a formula for success right now that it seems to be working. Like, it's a good number for Ryan Matthews, and it's a pretty good number for DeMarco Murray. As the game went on, and I truly think that Murray is benefiting from a defense that starts getting worn out in the second half. I think he's better in those situations. I think Matthews is proving to be a little bit better in the first half when the opposing defense is still a little fresh, and he's hitting those holes a little better for an average of 4 to 5 yards per carry. So I like right now the way that seems to be trending. The question is whether or not it can become a consistent trend for the next few weeks to help carry them through some more difficult games.
All right, they're Grayson's grades. They're all listed right now at 97.3ESPN.com. And after every Eagles game, a couple B's, one C in there, and a couple D's. And then, of course, Sam Bradford stands alone. He's got an F from Grayson's grades this week at 97.3ESPN.com.